Hello, slightly different conversation today from the normal podcast. But today, for those that have been watching the podcast, might recognise Chris. Chris is joined me today to talk about the Men's Day that we're running. So, Chris, welcome back.
Thank you very much. Good to see you, James.
So we felt it was really important. So, as people may have heard from our previous conversation, but Chris and I are obviously huge advocates for men's mental awareness and men's well-being, men's mental health, whatever you want to call it. And last week was National Suicide Day. So we thought it would be useful to jump onto a call to talk about our Men's Day in a bit more detail with people. Hopefully, it will give people a bit more of an opportunity to understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, and what they can get out of it. So Chris, obviously, sad news from yesterday with regards to Ricky Hatton. There might be a delay on that, but sad news on Sunday, should I say, about Ricky Hatton. You know, National Suicide Day was last week. You know, why, from your perspective, why is this so important? Why are we doing what we're doing in collaborating with also with James O'Keefe, I should say, on this Men's Day?
Yeah, I think look, the news over the weekend was terribly sad, and I think that we talked before about the rates of suicide and the fact that sometimes men don't have the framework or the outlet to be able to discuss their feelings. And I guess what we're trying to do is that we're not a a mental health support group, but what we're trying to do is provide a space for blokes to come out and spend a day for them, so it doesn't get to that stage where you get to kind of where they feel like they're at the end of their tether. So this is more around that prevention element. So it's to provide a friendly, warm, exciting and fun environment for blokes to spend a day just for them. And I think that what I've certainly felt this myself, and with a lot of the coaching that I do, is that we're often at the bottom of our own to-do list. There's always something more important than us and our own self-care and our own well-being. And we're trying to flip that on its head and try and give almost the individuals the permission to be able to spend a day on themselves, and then that kind of concept that self-care, rather than being a selfish act, is a selfless act. Because actually, if you look after yourself, then you're in a better position to be able to then give to others and be that best version of yourself and to help other people. So that's the kind of overarching theme of the day.
Yeah, and it's so important because I look at I've got my own personal story, you've got your personal story, and I know James O'Keefe has got his personal story as well, and we've all got our personal stories, and those personal stories, actually, when we reflect back on them, we probably all left it too late. We probably didn't always necessarily action in time, and therefore we got to a point where we were kind of falling off the cliff almost, let's call it. So it's really important that, and for me, that's the key here, is to help people and to create that safe environment. As you say, it's not about the prevention piece, it's more about creating that space that people can step over that threshold where they might be feeling and not necessarily themselves, or they want to start exploring something slightly different and investing in themselves. Um, and as we were talking about, and we've talked about a lot of times, it's very much a day for me, and not for me, for the person that's coming. It's a day for them. It's not a day for their partner, their kids, their family, their whoever. It's a day for them to be able to switch off their phone, leave it at the door, and just be present with themselves for the day, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes we don't make that investment. Whether it's in a time or a monetary perspective, there's always something more important and more prescient that needs or perceived to be needs actually our time and money. And my argument is that actually there's nothing more important than you. You're the captain of the ship that's keeping this whole thing running. And actually, to be able to take some time out to reset, to refresh, to recharge, I think is just so important.
Yeah. And as my analogy said, Chris, that we talked about before, you wouldn't hesitate twice if something went wrong with your car to go and spend a few £100s, even thousands of pounds on getting your car fixed. But yet, actually, if it comes to you, how much do you invest in you? And very little do people ever invest in themselves to get themselves fixed. And as I say, this isn't always about fixing somebody. It's about creating that space for that person to be able to understand and do something for themselves. Um, so, so Chris, when we fast forward, I suppose, to the day itself. One of the biggest challenges I know I always faced, and even now, I still, to a degree, face sometimes. One of the biggest challenges that men face is what I would call stepping over that threshold. So, there's probably thousands of men out there that are thinking, "Oh, that sounds really interesting," and I'd love to do that, or I think I might need to do something like that. But we have emotions, and one of the biggest things that we have as well can be anxiety and fear of stepping over that threshold into a day, not knowing anybody there and not knowing anything about what's going on. So when we talk about a day for men, what are some of the things that men can expect to try and reduce that level of anxiety about coming along and stepping over that threshold?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think uh, I ran a retreat literally just 2 weekends ago, and that was another men's retreat, and one of the bits of feedback at the end was just like, I haven't looked at my phone all day. And he said, I think that's the first time in like a year where he hasn't felt the urge to respond, to go on the internet, to look on social media. It was just a complete switch off. And I think that that's the first thing for me to expect is actually just this detox. You know, the word retreat, I think if you could look at it as a kind of a retreat, is that like, you are retreating from life, from that constant grind and to-do list and the battle that you're facing every day. You can just take a step back from all that and actually just be like, you know what, I don't have to do this today. And that in itself is massively powerful. But I think the other way you can look at retreat is it's the treating yourself. You're retreating yourself to something that is just for you. So I think this is quite powerful in that sense. And so you come along to it, you're welcomed to this environment where people don't know each other, but actually you're all kind of there for the same reason. And that in itself is that you're investing in you, but also you get this immediate sense of community. It's kind of a collegiate type atmosphere where actually um, you can just have some decent conversations. You feel like, you're among like-minded people. And that in itself has a lightness to it, I think. And it's just like, and I remember the first time I went to a retreat or a men's day or an adventure like this. And there's almost like you're driving up the drive to this venue you've never been to. You don't know what the people, and you're like, oh God, what's this going to feel like? And then you get there and you've usually got a really lovely warm cup of tea or coffee and some nice snacks and just, and a bit of initial conversation. It's like, yeah, do you know what? This is actually all right. And you can then start to settle into the day itself.
Yeah, and look, I echo those comments because you go along and you genuinely you don't know who's going to be there. But I don't think I've ever been to any events where I've felt out of place. I've felt stupid. I felt like I've not wanted. And everyone there genuinely is almost there to support and build this. And we'll use the word brotherhood to build this brotherhood of men that are there to support and help and to be together for the day. And I've been on plenty of events where I'm still in touch with people from a year, 2 years ago. And so it is that genuine brotherhood that we're trying to create that gives people a safe space that they can actually be themselves and they can talk and they can openly share. And yeah, look, there's going to be some activities, right? We're not going to just come and sit around a table and drink tea and eat biscuits all day. There will be some great activities, and we've planned those activities that will take people on a journey. So it's not about throwing you straight in at the deep end. It's about gently introducing you to various things. We'll tell our stories so you can understand where we've come from. And then we'll take people through a journey to help them to relax their body. And then we'll talk about kind of helping them to relax their mind, and then it builds from there, right? So, Chris, do you want to share any of the other kind of any specific activities that we might be doing that people might be going, oh yeah, I'm really up for that one?
Yeah. So like you said, I think that there'll be an opener to the day where we kind of like say our piece and kind of do a bit of a get to know you session, if you like. And then we're going to then get straight into our bodies. So we're going to do some exercise, going to get our blood flowing a little bit. Sometimes, like, when you've maybe got a bit of underlying anxiety, you're in a new environment, your mind's playing tricks on you a little bit, or you're overthinking, and actually to get into your body and get the heart pumping, that's the first thing we're going to get into. So we're going to be doing some guided exercise. James has they've been involved in things like mixed martial arts and jiu-jitsu, and he's like run a gym before, so we've got loads of like fun activities that we're going to be doing, and just having a bit of fun with it. And so that'll be a kind of a way to just settle the nerves, and then from there we've got some really I think not just exciting modalities that we're going to be trying out, but actually these things are in my eyes game changers. So we're going to be talking about things like breath work, which is, it's definitely having a moment. It's definitely becoming more popular in the zeitgeist in terms of when I started doing it 5 years ago. But I think there's a reason that it's become popular, and it's not a fad. It's because it bloody works. It really bloody works. And I've had a number of amazing I guess turnarounds from some of my coaching clients who have, taken the medicine and decided to just try out what this breathwork stuff is all about. And they've literally said it's literally changed their life. It's lowered their level of anxiety, their level of baseline stress. It's improved their concentration. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a deep dive into breathwork, and that's all different types, from the more relaxing stuff, which can be used kind of on an everyday basis, to the more kind of intensive, like cyclical hyperventilation, as it's called, or the Wim Hof style type breath work, where it's a bit more excitatory. It's more kind of, you have to kind of commit to it. It's not necessarily comfortable in the moment, but you feel absolutely amazing afterwards, and that's really, really good fun. So I'm really looking to take people on that journey. And
And the
then
good thing with that, though, Chris, is that, sorry to interject, but the
no
good
worries.
thing with that is that with that kind of breath work, you can go as deep or not as you want, right? So yeah, like, we will encourage, and there'll be the support mechanism there, that if somebody does get emotional, that me and James will be there to support and to help and to guide. But actually, if you don't want to go full on because it's the first time you've ever done it, you don't have to. And I think that's the other thing to state, that, we encourage and we're there to support everybody, but we also will take people on a journey so they feel comfortable. But you don't have to always push your boundaries to the extreme to get stuff out of it. And I think that's really
Absolutely.
important, because sometimes people can be building up anxiety. Oh, I'm not fit, or I'm not healthy, or how does this interact? So I just think it's worth sharing that can go as deep or not as you want.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, I ran a workshop yesterday in Milton Keynes, where we did like a kind of an introduction to some more of the kind of like intensive forms of breath work. And you had a load of first timers there, had never done it before. And the overarching feeling afterwards was just one of complete joy. They were just like, wow, that was amazing. And they really enjoyed it. And we only did about like probably a half an hour. And the feeling is that they wanted to go on longer, and they actually wanted more of it. So it was a
Yeah.
really good like little taster
Yeah.
session. So I think, yeah, so
Nice.
the breathwork element, I've been on my breathwork journey. I've been doing it for 5 years. I've got my certification in breathwork as a breathwork facilitator, and I've run multiple workshops and retreats, and I'm really confident about taking people on this kind of journey, and just having a bit of play with it and having some fun with it, and just, I guess, sparking that curiosity, I think, in people's minds is really important.
Yeah.
So
And
so the
no breath work wouldn't be breath work without then a nice cold bath to go in afterwards, right?
Well, this is it. This is it. So, um, look, there's lots of different phrases for it. Is it ice baths? Is it cold water immersion? Is it cold plunge? But ultimately, you're getting in a tub of very, very cold water. Um, and um, and Yeah, I was running a retreat the other day, and we literally went to the supermarket and bought like 60 bags of ice. And the attendants at the actual supermarket itself were like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I think that because I live in this kind of strange world of ice baths and cold water immersion, I was just like, "Well, obviously we're having ice baths," and they just thought we were completely bonkers. But so I think there's still a lot of people that see it as something that's quite out there. Um, but the thing for me is that it's backed by the hardest of hard science. Like, the um, you know, studies that have now come out around both the physiological effects and psychological effects of cold water are now undeniable. And um, it's a really, really powerful experience. I'll put my hands up and be straight with everybody to say that it kind of sucks. Like getting in cold water is not a pleasant experience, but actually it's in that friction and it's in that I guess that stepping into something, stepping into the unknown, being brave. That's where the real growth comes from. And yeah, this workshop I ran yesterday was a mixture of breath work, sauna, and ice baths. And honestly, the looks on people's faces when they'd got out of the ice bath, that feeling that they'd conquered their fears, but also just generally, you're getting this like injection of neurochemicals with all these happy joy chemicals that then make you feel fantastic afterwards. And that can lead to that overarching feeling like of a reset, where you come out of the day feeling like you've left some stuff behind and you can then move forward into whatever paradigm or whatever new thing that you want to do. And James O'Keefe, who's running the event with us, he told me a story that this one bloke who came on one of his retreats, like he turned up grey, just had this like grey downbeat colour to him, and he literally changed colour by the end of the retreat and just
Wow.
looked lighter. He had colour in his cheeks, he had joy in his heart. And I think it can be that powerful, So yeah, so we're going to be getting to ice baths. It's all going to be very controlled. It's all going to be very measured. It's a very safe practice that we do, and we make sure that you're taken through that whole thing step by step.
Yeah, cool. And of course, no day wouldn't be complete as well, Chris, with some nice nourishing food. I know, we all have the same view that it's also what you put into your body that has an impact on how you feel. So we'll obviously be providing some lovely, nourishing home cooked food to keep everybody feeling energized throughout the day. And there'll be a few other surprises for people, but nothing too taxing, right?
No, absolutely. I think as well that there's that kind of old adage is that you you get out of what you put in, and I think this it's so true with your body. And I think that it's quite hard to be healthy these days. I think some crazy statistic that like 54% of all food in our supermarkets is now ultra processed, and so we're getting um, excessive levels of sugar within our diets, and seed oils as well. It's not something that people talk about that much, but there's huge amounts of seed oils within our diets that basically have huge inflammatory effects, which can then can be a precursor to disease. And so we're going to do a bit of education around the food that we're eating and about how to eat healthy, but it's going to be a whole foods menu. So there's going to be no artificial sugar. There's going to be, homemade bread with no muck in it. There's going to be fresh fruits. There's going to be, a real investment in some of the things that, again, you can eat and how you can eat healthily, and that actually it doesn't have to cost the earth.
No, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. And look, I think the other thing I want to say is this is not a preaching environment of you must do this, you must do that. This is a day where we just want people to come along, be inquisitive, ask questions. You're going to have three people there leading that have got a huge amount of experience in a whole host of different things. from ultra running through to martial arts, through to breath work, to you name it. We've probably got it covered. So there's going to be a lot of knowledge in the room, as we say. Please don't be put off. You don't have to have the perfect body. You don't have to have the perfect background. This isn't about perfection. This is about creating a safe environment for people, for men, just to come along and be with other blokes. And that's what I would say. Don't, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Chris, to me. We'll be able to answer any of those questions. If you've got a little bit of anxiety around it and you want to just talk to us before you sign up, we're quite happy to have a chat with you beforehand. It's about creating a day for you. And I think that's where I would like to finish. It's not about us doing anything. It's just creating that safe space for men to come to and to maybe start a journey. I didn't start a journey, and 5 years ago I nearly ended everything. But I wish that I'd started a journey probably 8 years ago, when I was slowly starting to go, because it probably wouldn't have got to where I got to. So please do feel free to connect with us if you want to talk further. But Chris, any final remarks?
Just the details. 18th of October. Yeah, Saturday, the 18th of October. It's going to be a full day. So kind of 8:30 start, finish at 6 o'clock. So yeah, full day out. But it's out in nature. It's a beautiful venue called Croft Farm Escapes in the countryside outside of Hemel Hempstead. So it's relatively close to London. If you live in London, it's not much of a schlep to get out there. Yeah, that's it. October. 18th of October. It's a Saturday, and yeah, we're really looking forward to it. We've already got some tickets sold. We've got a really good group that we're assembling already. But like James said, if you've got any questions around any of this stuff, just reach out. Happy to have a conversation and talk you through it all.
Yeah, and if you listen to this and you're really excited about it and you want to join us, I'll put the link to Eventbrite where you can buy the tickets below. And as I say, I'll put some profiles on there if you want to check us out, or connect with us to have a conversation. So thanks for listening. Chris, thank you for joining me. I'm really excited about the 18th. It's going to be a great day, and hopefully see some of you there.
Great stuff. Cheers, James.